Hey everybody, it's Atheist for the Cause here with an article review for you, and this is a bullshit one, but I guess, we gotta respond, right? Is this it for Trump? Oh, please no, do not impeach Trump. The Washington Post. For months, Trump watchers have wondered, what will it take? Meaning, what would finally force Republicans to force the fact so obvious to so many. Yeah, so many on the left, right? I wonder why that is. It's not for political gain, is it? That President Trump isn't quite right? Not in the correct sense, but in the head sense. This is a narrative. This is from the Washington Post, but the CNN and MSNBC, they're all pushing it. The answer, apparently, is Mika Brzezinski of MSNBC's Morning Joe. Oh, they got him. This is not normal. People are finally saying in response to Trump's latest Twitter attacks, in which the President of the United States limboed under his own low bar and chastised Brzezinski and co-anchor fiance Joe Scarborough with his usual knuckle-dragging flair. Applying his 140-character attention span, he squibbed. And this is, there's a lot going on with Brzezinski and Scarborough, if you haven't heard, where they've, both been married before, and now they're engaged together, and, they both, I know she has kids, I think he has kids too, and there was, apparently, he called Trump, to try to get some story erased from the National Enquirer, to try to prevent it from running, and Trump has connections. And Trump said no. So then they went on their show and started attacking him, and then Trump responded. So that's basically what happened. It said, I heard poorly rated Morning... so this is what Trump said. I heard poorly rated Morning Joe speaks badly of me. Don't watch anymore. Then how come low IQ crazy Mika along with Psycho Joe came to Mar-a-Lago 3 nights in a row around New Year's Eve and insisted on joining me? She was bleeding badly from a facelift. I said no. Classic Trump. It is pretty much classic Trump. And by the way, when are you going to realize that, no, Trump's not a normal president? He's got his own style. What has been normal isn't working anymore. The American people voted for change. And unlike Obama, Trump is actually change. I don't think anybody would doubt that he's not change. This probably isn't the way Brzezinski would have preferred things to go, but in Trump's vernacular, she's been cruising for a bruising for a long time. See, now they're trying to make him sound abusive to women, and that's just bullshit to make it sound like he's beating women, or that he thinks women deserve to be beat or something. And that's actually a serious issue where people in general, but also women, are, there's domestic violence that is a huge issue. And to use it for political gain, as not just for political gain, but in this way where it's complete bullshit. You're just crying wolf to try to get Trump impeached. And everybody can see that. I mean, it really does minimize when a real victim claims to have been, beaten. And then people are used to these false accusations against people like the president. That is, she's been calling out the Donald with everything but an engraved invitation to do at dawn. And high time, I might add. So you admit it here. She's the one calling out Trump. She's starting shit. And by calling out Trump, you mean with childish attacks. You don't mean by actually going after what he's saying, the facts he's saying, or anything like that, or the arguments he's making, the policies he stands for. No, you're attacking him with childish attacks. And high time, I might add, for months during the early part of Trump's campaign, Mojo, as the show is nicknamed, was a welcome station for the celebrity firing squad. Around Washington, people had been... around a time when, Republicans are getting shot, and there's been all kinds of assassination attempts and threats. I mean, do we really need this kind of language? Around Washington, people had begun referring to the Morning Man Fest, where Brzezinski gamely serves as reluctant den mother, as mourning Trump. This was also the period when then-candidate Trump constantly bragged that he hadn't spent any money on advertising, and no one wondered why. He regularly called into the show, essentially running his campaign from Trump Tower. What's wrong with that? Trump had ample coverage elsewhere as well. Yeah, because he got coverage because he brought in viewers, and that made these news outlets want to cover him. They almost had to cover him because it was financially feasible. But they hate him so because it was, they would have lost so much money by not covering Trump. And they actually tried to deplatform, if you want to use that term, Trump. And it didn't work out well for them. I mean, they tried, remember when CNN got into it with Trump over a debate, and Trump opted out then, and that was like one of the lowest rated debates of all of them. Actually, I think it was the lowest. When your strength is branding and your name is the brand, there's little challenge to getting airtime. It's not just about airtime, though. I mean, campaigns are about a lot more than airtime. You have to actually get people to the polls, and it costs a lot of money. You need to build offices all over the country, and Trump actually did lack in the ground game. Cable television anchors and producers not only became Trump's unpaid marketers, but also bear some of the responsibility and blame for Trump's election. Oh, you mean because they actually covered him? Then things got strange. Just think about what's really being argued here. Is the implication that cable television anchors and producers should have not covered Trump. Or they should have covered Trump far less, when what they were really doing is attacking him the entire time. I mean, all candidates who are front runners definitely deserve to be elected, or to be covered at least. And you shouldn't take information away from voters because you don't like a candidate. Then things got strange. Trump won. Then Trump became even odder than usual, even according to his friends and others inclined to like him. Citation needed. Look how they just say that, and then there's like nothing after it. Like, who's saying that? Always fiercely competitive, obviously, as well as flawed, Trump nevertheless was able to control his worst impulses before becoming president. Scarborough and Brzezinski co-wrote in a post op-ed Friday. Oh, really? Because I remember before, a major argument against Trump was that he couldn't stop himself. He always had to hit back harder. In fact, this was something he campaigned on. You punch me, I counterpunch twice as hard. Or perhaps something is actually wrong with the guy. Oh my God. Plenty of physicians, psychiatrists, and psychologists think so and have written me volumes in off-the-record diagnoses. Guys, this isn't just one unnamed sources. This is plenty of unnamed sources. that just happen to be experts. They're physicians, psychiatrists, and psychologists, and I'm sure none of them are motivated by politics at all. A group of them have joined forces to co-write a book due out this fall. Oh, so they're looking to make money on it. It isn't so much that it's kind of funny. They're looking to make money on it by releasing a book this fall, but they're an unnamed source to her. If they're an unnamed source, and speaking off the record, you're outing them right now, because we'll just see who releases a book, and then we'll be like, oh, that was the Washington Post's source. So yeah, it isn't so much that the Donald always hits back and harder as his flaks boast. Well, that's what he has said, and it is true. It's that he is so thin-skinned, such a political amateur. Except all he does is win, pretty much literally. I mean, if you had to say, what has Trump actually lost at, where he wanted something and didn't get it in terms of policy? I mean, I have a bunch of I wrote down a list of a bunch of different topics that a lot of people said Trump would never be able to get these things done, or at least that they're very difficult. Here's a bunch of them. Exposing the mainstream media. Fixing or exposing the mainstream media. North Korea sanctions from China. Record job, and the North Korea sanctions, remember when they sent back the coal ships and they're actually buying coal from the U.S. now? Record job growth. Trade deal reform by eliminating the TPP and renegotiating NAFTA. Getting out of the Paris Climate Accord and completely changing the perception on what that was, where it had huge support. And once Trump exposed what the Paris Climate Accord was and how it was non-binary and costed us hundreds of billions of dollars, and even if every country hit every single goal, it would only cool the planet by 0.2 degrees. So Trump has completely changed the perception on that and informed people. Trump I would argue, has reformed the Republican Party. The Republican Party was a mess before Trump got elected, and they really fought against Trump. And now they're taking on a lot of his policies, and they're letting him. They used to fight him a lot. Now they're kind of just letting him go and trying to get some of their own stuff and have their own impact on it. But make no mistake, the Republican Party of today is not what the Republican Party pre-Trump was. And the Republican Party will probably never be the same. Illegal immigrant success. And by the way, Trump has really done a lot to harm both establishments. And I say harm in the sense that in changing the establishments, which were not working for the American people and had a lockdown. And now the, liberal corporate establishment no longer has lockdown. The progressives are starting to make a push in the Democratic Party, and the conservative establishment still in the Republican Party, they still have a lockdown, but that's because they reformed. Illegal immigrant success by making, just by having strong policies, people are mass deporting and self-deporting. And he also is, arresting people and deporting them. So he's also had the travel ban and things like that are going to help even further now. And then you have NATO reform and forcing other countries to pay their fair share. I mean, that's a lot that people didn't think Trump would be able to do, or that were the very least pretty difficult things to get done, and Trump did them. And this is only like the first couple of months. What's going to happen throughout the entire 4 years? I've made the joke before, Trump's going to run out of things to fix. So anyways, it says nothing will happen until GOP constituents start shouting. And remember, these are the same people Trump has taught to hate the media. Trump hasn't... oh, I'm sorry, I skipped some. It isn't so much that Donald always hits back and harder as his flax boast. It's that he's so thin-skinned, such a political amateur, and so utterly lacking in the fine art of disregard that he can't let anything pass. This is the single greatest concern for the witted, not his idiotic tweets in the night. Impulsivity combined with narcissistic injury is a red flag to many of the men with access to the nuclear codes. And so, as more and more Americans embrace this is not normal, as the bumper sticker du jour, many are wondering again, will this be it? And citation needed, so who are the more and more Americans? I mean, where's the evidence that Trump is losing support? Actually, I've showed in recent videos that his job approval right now is going up. So will this be it? Will this be the final straw? Will the final straw be Brzezinski's alleged badly bleeding facelift, which she needlessly denied in the op-ed? She only tweaked some skin beneath the chin, she said. Oh, I remember this, my little sister, and she, I said, oh, that's a nice dress you have, and she was like, it's not a dress, it's a tutu. And it's like, you expect Trump to be able to parse between a facelift and tweaking some skin beneath the chin. I mean, come on, this is Twitter. Yeah. What's he supposed to say? Mika Brzezinski wanted to come, and right after she tweaked some skin beneath the chin, but I said no. Give me a break. CNN's Brian Stelter, meanwhile, has posted a photo of Brzezinski on the day in question, and she shows no evidence of surgery and certainly not blood. What woman has a facelift and goes bleeding to a famous club where tout le beau monde are partying? To the point, is this it? My friends, don't count on it. Of course it's not. Why would a freaking tweet? Remember, they're talking about all this. This is all about a tweet. Nothing will happen until GOP constituents and start shouting. And remember, these are the same people Trump has taught to hate the media. Also, this is hardly the worst example of Trump's errant charm. Yet suddenly, his insulting Brzezinski, widely criticized as evidence of misogyny, what about Psycho Joe, is supposed to send congressional Republicans into paroxysms of penitential rebuke and replace. Brzezinski is Wonder Woman. What? She's not that intelligent. She's really not. I mean, all she does is toe the company line. And Scarborough Joe does most of the talking. And then with his guests, she doesn't even say that much. Brzezinski is Wonder Woman, smart, strong, wealthy, and engaged to marry her best friend. I seriously doubt she has been wounded by Trump's pathetic second-grader taunts. But I get it. Remember, she's the one that originally started attacking him with pathetic second-grader taunts. The most one can hope, and the more you argue that Trump is acting immature, the more you're arguing that Brzezinski was acting immature. The most one can hope for these days is that enough Republican men Republican women need not apply here. Only Republican men. So sit down, Republican women. Can be shamed into defending Brzezinski, a woman many of them know personally, and who has thumbs down power over potential guests on the show everybody in Washington watches. Whatever works. I think this is a good line, whatever works, to explain their strategy. The mainstream media will go and attack Trump and try to get him impeached for the most ridiculous stuff, and they're just going to keep changing their narrative. Like when, the Russia one got exposed in like 5 different ways, so now they're on to like mental health. And this is something they've actually floated in the past. This is not new. It's just that they're upping their game on this. They're upping the intensity. And but let's look at a video that shows us what Mika Brzezinski actually said that made Trump respond, according to Business Insider. Sorry, it's kind of a shitty video, but this is oh, there we go. So they're claiming it's about this Time magazine cover, which they're making a big deal about it. But keep an eye on, or an ear on, what she actually says, and not just the topic of the magazine, but what is she actually saying? How is she going about her argument?
Nothing makes a man feel better than making a fake cover of a magazine about himself, lying every day and destroying the country.
First of all, she's attacking him for being a man. She's like broadening it to men in general. She didn't say the man. She said nothing makes a man feel better. But whatever. I'll give her a pass for that. But listen to this last part.
He's covering his hands here because they're teensy.
How immature. He's covering his hands because they're teensy. So, and now, here I just wanted to show you that, about the mentally ill. This is from February 15th. And they were, people were already talking about this mental illness argument. So let's listen to this.
Donald Trump may be full of himself, but that doesn't mean he is mentally ill. At least that is what Alan Francis, chairman of the task force that wrote the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders 4, tells the New York Times in a letter. He may be a world-class narcissist, but this doesn't make him mentally ill because he does not suffer from the distress and impairment required to diagnose mental disorder. Francis.
Okay, so there you have it. Even so, they were bringing this up, and I think it said this is from Reuters originally, that he doesn't actually have mental illness.
Discloses, adding that it is a stigmatizing insult to the mentally ill, who are most well-behaved and well-meaning, to be lumped with Mr. Trump, who is neither.
All right, so they're also saying that it's harmful to the disabled, the mentally ill, I should say, that to attack Trump as mentally ill because of how he acts, because that is projecting a stigma from the mentally ill. And it's like, oh, you're acting like the mentally ill because you're acting immature, narcissistic, all these things. But those aren't qualities necessarily of the mentally ill. And I think that's a very interesting point. And so the Washington Post, have you no shame? When are you going to stop attacking the mentally ill to further your political agenda against Trump? And it's all based on bullshit. That's the thing here, too. I'd give them a much bigger pass if there was actually a serious question about his mental health, like, you know, where it was quite obvious or something. But when the only obvious thing here is that this is like politically driven, and it's not based on mental health diagnoses at all. If Trump actually had mental health issues, people would be coming out of the woodwork, experts would, to say that he has them, but they're not, because they don't want to put their business or their license on the line. They don't want to put their credibility on the line. So then there's this Daily Mail article where it said that this is really disturbing. 24 Democrats get behind bill to lay foundation for removing Trump for being mentally incapacitated, but they need Mike Pence to agree. 25th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution allows Congress to set up a medical commission that could determine if a president is fit for office. The president's cabinet is also allowed to serve that purpose, but Congress has never established its own group to participate. Either panel would require the vice president to agree before Congress would vote to remove the president. A Maryland Democratic congressman is trying to set up a commission to target President Trump, tweeting, "Trump's mental incapacity is no laughing matter." Plan has only attracted Democratic co-sponsors so far. Senate that passed 25th Amendment agreed inability meant mental debility, rendering a president unable or unwilling to make any rational decision. And it's quite clear that Trump is able and willing to make rational decisions. It's perfectly rational to go to NATO and say, hey, you guys, pay your fair share that you're obligated to pay by a treaty that you guys agreed to, and that you can actually pay. It's not like they couldn't pay it. They were just choosing not to pay it. Let's see. So, but remember, 24 Democrats have been complaining about, or have gotten behind this. So, says Raskin has made no bones about the fact that his intentions are specific to President Trump. Trump's mental incapacity is no laughing matter, he tweeted last month. 25th Amendment gives us a way to deal with this problem. Raskin summed up his reasoning for Yahoo News on Friday. In case of an emergency, break glass. I assume every human being is allowed one or two errant and seemingly deranged tweets, he said. The question is whether you have sustained pattern of behavior that indicates something is seriously wrong. Based on what? This is complete bullshit. So, there you have it. The Democrats are actually, it's not just the mainstream media lying now. The Democrats are actually behind this. They have 12 Democrats behind this, saying that, Trump should be basically kicked out of office because he's mentally ill. And one other thing I wanted to mention, what I was looking for, is Texas Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, a far-left liberal Democrat, claimed Friday in a Fox Business Channel interview that Congress can remove incompetent presidents. Now, this is very, very disturbing to me. Just think about what she's arguing. How do you define what an incompetent president is? It's going to be something basically that politically you don't agree with, that you don't like. And if in terms of incompetence, Trump has gotten a lot done, so he's not incompetent. He just has gotten things done that you don't like. And what if we went by this standard, that you can basically impeach any president based on mental illness, because you feel they're incompetent? We'll just have Republicans and Democrats constantly going after the other president and trying to impeach them. This would be horrible for the country. it says even here, she goes on. The 25th Amendment is utilized when a president is perceived to be incompetent or unable to do his or her job, she said. So I just thought that was a little ridiculous. And keep in mind, it's not just that the mainstream media is talking about this. It's not just that there are a dozen Democrats behind this, or 24 Democrats behind this. They're actually getting behind a bill it would basically set up a panel that would then make a determination to get rid of Trump. So this is very, very disturbing stuff. So anyways, I will talk to you guys later. Enjoy your 4th of July weekend and stay safe.